What did Rick Eckert think of his second straight UDTRA championship? What were some of the defining moments of the Pro Dirt Car season? The answers are next. Hello everybody, I'm Mark Allen along with Roby Helm. Happy to have you aboard for the final of our Dirty Thursday telecasts of the Pro Dirt Car Series on Speed Channel. Roby, you tour with these guys each and every week. What are some of the memories that you're going to carry away from this season?
Well, Mark, I think the thing I'm going to carry away is variety is the spice of life. We saw a lot of different types of races on a lot of different types of racetracks of different sizes all over the country. We saw a lot of familiar names that came to the front of the pack this season, and we'll be talking about them during the show. We also saw drivers like Earl Pearson Jr. with his best points finish of his career. Also saw drivers like Freddie Smith, Ray Cook back in the top 10. Ray Cook with his 8th consecutive top 10 finish in the points. We saw new faces like Randy Cordy, Billy Ogle Jr., and Shane Tankersley.
And one of the things that we have not been able to show anybody yet so far this year was the ISKY Dash, part of the Hardee's Shootout Weekend. And for those people not familiar with what the ISKY Dash is, Roby, please explain.
Well, Mark, the ISKY Dash is when you take all the fast qualifiers from all 38 races during the 2002 season, you bring them to Dixie Speedway to the Hardee's Shootout, you line them up for 20 laps, $5,000 to win, and in the ISKY Dash, we'll find out who's the fastest of the fast.
So let's show you that action.
The 14 fast qualifiers from the 2002 campaign lined up for 20 laps around the 3/8 mile Dixie Speedway. The pole sitter was determined by a pill draw, as was the rest of the starting field. Dale McDowell in the 17 car set only 2 fast times this season, but did get the pole, but from the outside position right from the get-go. Jimmy Mars in that white number 28 took the point. Set 2 fast times this season. Best battle early on was for third between the 1 Lucas car of Earl Pearson Jr. and the 1 Valvoline car of Steve Francis. Now the man who had the most fast times this season, the 24 of Rick Eckert, the 2002 series champion, he started shotgun on the field and had to work his way forward. Also, Donnie Moran, mired well back in the pack, tried to work his way forward with Billy Moyer watching on. Just past halfway, here comes the battle for the lead. The Upmount, Wisconsin driver Jimmy Mars in the 28 car, the Jimmy Mars Racing Chevy, and Earl Pearson Jr. in the Lucas Oil Gunn Benson Ford, showing 2 different fast ways around Dixie Speedway. It was frequently too close to call at the start-finish line as they did this for a number of laps. It looked like the low side was the fast way around, but tell that to Mars. Finally, at the start-finish line on lap 14, Pearson takes the point. Down to the final lap, all he has to concern himself with is staying out of trouble. Randy Cordy is directly in front of him. Pearson will be able to do that. And in front of his sponsor, Forrest Lucas, the president of Lucas Oil, he takes the checkered flag and victory in the ISKY Dash. In the better part of 7 minutes, he takes home a nice paycheck.
Well, you can't make the feature unless you advance into it through the heats. And it was some of the most ferocious, fender-banging, door-slamming action of anything that we saw all season. Here's what we mean.
Bill Fry on the outside with Dale McDowell looking inside. Dan Schleifer going to make it 3 wide off of 4.
Look at that racing.
Here's the look from the high camera as to what happened. Scott Randolph gets into Dennis Erb in the 28 car. Moran's got nowhere to go. Brian Burkhofer also in the middle of that melee. The 5th heat was nothing short of unbelievable, folks. Dennis Erb is in the final transfer position, but watch what is happening directly behind him. This is a wreck that somehow never happens.
Look at that, 4 wide off the 2nd turn.
And they're not done yet.
Jeff Waldick in the 71 car slides up in front of Bill Cunningham in the 59 car, and here comes Dennis Erb battling with local favorite Pat Dorr in the 11 car, wheel to wheel up front of them. Mike Balzano in the E1.
And this is the white flag lap. 3 will transfer, but starting position so important. Every one of them wants to get to the checkers first. Look at this. 3 wide for the win.
Pat Dorr going to the high side. He has the momentum and takes the win with Herb second. Balzano in third.
Now we go to the 6th heat. We all caught our breath a little bit, but look at this.
Donnie Moran making a little contact there as Bob Pierce works the bottom in the 32 car.
And Dale McDowell went on to win that heat. Meanwhile, the second Consi, Donnie Moran, who's got our onboard camera, he really needs to qualify here so we give you those great views. He threads the needle, jumps to the lead.
What a move, then slides up in front of Randall Chop. Here comes Chop on the inside.
Contact, as you see. They're going off the racetrack to race.
Coming up next, the man who finished 5th in the series points will meet Earl Pearson Jr.
This race brought to you by Lucas Oil, the official lubricant of UDTRA. By Advance Auto Parts, the best part is our people. By QPI, tools that outlive you. And by Hardee's, the official fast food of Dixie Speedway.
Welcome back to Dixie Speedway, everybody. As Roby just mentioned moments ago, Earl Pearson Jr. had his best career finish in the points in 2002. And Roby, what was it about that program that impressed you so much?
The professionalism of the team. They all worked together. They brought in Ronnie Stuckey for a few races to work with them, come up with new setups, and I think that's the key for them finishing 5th in the points in the 2002 season.
And Roby, you just talked to Earl a few moments ago.
Earl, you had your best point finish of your career this year. What do you attribute your success to?
A lot of it, you know, Lucas Oil, done business for, we've been really good all year, you know, and Lucas Oil's brought a lot to our team, and, you know, we got 3 full-time guys, and we get to hire Ronnie Stuckey every chance we get, you know, and things like that's really come together for our team. We got off to a pretty slow start, but here later on in the year, you know, we've got a lot better, got a lot of top 5s, got a couple wins, and, you know, I got to owe a lot of it to the team owner. And like I say, Ronnie Stuckey's helped me a great deal this year.
Earl, you live in Jacksonville, Florida, and we travel a lot of miles on this series, but it seems like to get to the starting point of a road trip, you're the guy that has to travel the farthest. What kind of a hardship does that bring for you, and how do you deal with that?
Well, my dad travels with me a great deal, and you know, it helps me out a lot where I can sleep on the way, you know, in the van. And I get a company van from Dunn Benson Ford, and I'm really grateful for that, and that helps out a great deal. And plus, you know, when we go way out west or so, I do a lot of, you know, travel in the planes and different things of that nature. But you know, it's tough for me because I got a full-time job back home. I do a lot of traveling. You know, I usually leave on Thursday nights and get home Sunday night. So, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on me. But you know, when we get to the racetrack, you know, I'm pretty focused on what I need to do, and so. You know, I get to rest quite a bit on the way there with my dad driving, so you know, it ain't too bad. I got used to it now, so I'll be okay with it.
You took a big win this year at Dixie Speedway. Tell us a little bit about that victory.
You know, we qualified second and had a real good car, and you know, on the start we got behind Dale McDowell, and you know, he got into lap traffic. We was right there behind him, and they had a little altercation on. You know, he trying to pass a lap car, and they got together, and he spun out, and I hit him, and Frank Ingram hit me in the back end, and they spun me out. But you know, the decision they made and put Dale to the back and put me on the front, you know, that was just their call, and nothing I can do about that. You know, it was Dale's race to win. You know, because it was one-lane racetrack, hard to pass, and but you know, I was fortunate enough to, you know, stay up front there. You know, after we got a little altercation there and been up the front end of the car, and it had a slight push, but it was pretty good, and I think tonight we'll do pretty good.
Coming up next, they were 3 wide. Sometimes their hair was on fire. Okay, maybe not, but you get the idea. Some of the very best racing of the 2002 season, in retrospect, is next. Welcome back to Dixie Speedway, everybody. Mark Allen and Roby Helm here. And Roby, one of the things that you mentioned at the top of the show is that we went to a lot of different types of racetracks this year, and that made for some wild racing.
That's right, Mark. You get on the short tracks, you have very close quarters racing. They are going 2 and 3 wide, and then you get on the big half miles where they get stretched out, and then speed is the name of the game.
Well, let's take a look at what we're going to call the best racing of the season, Part 1.
Our first television race of 2002 has a front row of the protagonists in the national championship race from last year. They lead us to the green at Thunder Valley Speedway with Rick Eckert getting the early jump. Billy Moyer up to second, Shannon Babb third, and Steve Francis, our pole sitter's already fallen back to fourth.
Well, that tire change working to Billy Moyer's advantages. He's now looking to the inside of Rick Eckert as they battle side by side for the lead.
Or we should say side by side by side. We saw it in the heats and consies. This track is a minimum of 2 grooves wide and maybe 3. Let's see how long it holds up. Shannon Babb wants to have something to say about this too. Look at him ride the rim.
Oh, he got into the back of Eckert, got a lot of momentum coming off of that second turn. He's running as high as he has run all night. If that wall wasn't there, he might be running out in the parking lot.
Meanwhile, everybody settles down.
Donnie Moran, Rick Eckert side by side. Dale McDowell looking to the outside from third. He'll get a challenge on the inside from Rick Auckland.
Right behind that, look at those top 4 cars. I don't know which one to call. And even on the inside of that now, the 1 car of Steve Francis. 2 wide track is holding up even. 3 wide as they head down the backstretch side by side. It's too close to call for the lead. And that is not the first time that we have seen that Valvoline Dodge jump the cushion. Now he's trying it down. He wants that spot back. And he's going to get it.
Dale McDowell once again running third in that Larry Shaw Race Cars Pontiac. And a little contact there between the one of Francis. And look, there's Jimmy Mars. Jimmy Mars started 12th. He's up to 4th and closing in on this battle for second between McDowell and Francis.
3 wide, 4 wide down the front stretch. How's it going to play out? Everybody's reformed for the restart. Green flag back out on lap 23. The TV double file restarts. Gives the edge to Rick Eckert as it should be, but here comes Francis again. Deja vu all over.
They picked it up right where they left it off. Francis running the bottom.
And at the line
on Eckert. Mars right down on the inside, makes it 3 wide.
And at the line, I've got to give the edge to Francis. He had the point, but to the high side, here comes Eckert again. And 2 by 2, it's Noah's Ark racing all the way back through the top 10 positions.
Francis and Eckert, wheel to wheel. Mars looking to the inside of Francis, but there is no racetrack down there.
The green flag is out, and they are already 3 and 4 wide down the backstretch.
Oh, this is some good old-fashioned Midwest Fairgrounds dirt track racing. Already 4 wide up front for the lead. Look at them as they come off of turn 4.
And at the line, oh, and contacted against the wall, Rick Eckert, but he keeps the car aimed in the right direction. The right front corner of that car clearly hit the wall. We'll keep an eye on the tires, but Steve Francis has jumped to the point with our pole sitter, Brian Burkhofer, second.
Coming up next, we'll sit down and have a conversation with the man who finished 4th in the series points, Jimmy Mars. Welcome back to Dixie Speedway, everybody, where the Hardy Shootout just concluded here yesterday, and now we're taking a look back at the season just concluded, and a driver who has every reason to be proud, Roby, of what he did is Jimmy Mars, who finished 4th in the final standings.
Well, that's right, Mark. They got off to kind of a bad start. He lost his sponsor 3 days before the season started, but that didn't deter Jimmy Mars or his brother and crew chief Chris Mars. They went out and they were strong right from the start of the season. They were in the championship hunt right on up until about the last 2 races of the season. Kind of fell off the pace a little bit with DNFs and that wild ride at Cedar Lake Speedway. So Jimmy Mars coming home with a 4th place finish, still a good year for the Iceman.
Well, let's spend a few minutes with him now.
Jimmy, you came from a dirt background originally, then you went pavement racing, and then you came back to dirt. Tell us about the transition between the two.
Well, both of them are similar, have different similar aspects to it. One you definitely can get after the car a little bit more on the dirt and be a little more aggressive than you can on asphalt. The asphalt series it's more of how the car kind of controls you, where on dirt you kind of control the car. So they're both real exciting to run.
Jimmy, you started off the year real strong. You had a couple of wins, and then we got into the heat of the summer, and it seemed like you had problems. It seemed like the biggest problem, I guess you could say, was going out of the ballpark at your home racetrack, Cedar Lake. Tell us about that ride.
That was just one of the things where we had a couple bad races before that. Not really just performance-wise, because I'd say all year we've been running real competitive in the top 5, but we had some different parts break and parts failures. It was just one of them fluke deals that happened, and it put us behind a little bit in the points, and we started way back in the race at Cedar Lake and was just trying to make up more than what was there before the track got to be a 1 lane, just because it was a day race, and just trying to get up front and bump the wall a little bit, went over it. Other than wrecking the car, it's more fun than a fair ride.
What would you say was the highlight of your season? As you think back on the 2002 season, what was the thing that stands out most in your mind of being the thing that you'd like to remember?
I'd just say more than anything about being consistent and being a contender at every race that we went to, and really not having the backing that we needed to be a top runner. I mean, we did a lot of everything, stretched our dollar to the limit without having a car owner or any kind of major sponsor. So I was real happy with our team that stuck together and being a factor that we could put pressure on the top 3 guys that were running the deal with Dale and Steve and Rick. They're all real tough contenders. And, I mean, not just them, but everybody in the dirt late model racing, where I felt we had a chance of winning, and when we unloaded, they knew that we were a contender at every track.
One of the items of our telecasts this year that you, the fans, mentioned as much as anything else besides the great racing was our onboard camera. It was carried throughout the season on the QPI Tools Dirt Ripper car of Donnie Moran. We can't leave our year-ender without showing you a little bit of that action again, which actually had us shuddering and hiding under our chairs more than a few times.
He's trying to advance to win the Advanced Auto Parts Hard Charger Award. He started 23rd. He'll probably need to get up into the top 10 to win that award tonight, but look at all those cars. You think you want to be out there doing this, folks? This is not for the timid. On board with Donnie Moran. And just for that moment, you see Eckert to the high side. You know that Moran is aware of exactly where he's at, and look how close.
2 of the best in the business running inches apart around Eagle Raceway.
Now, just moments ago, we were watching this off camera. We saw this action happening. Look at this, 3 wide coming off the sector. Oh, major contact between Ray Cook and Donnie Moran, and I think we may have a look from our onboard camera. Yeah, let's see this again. Let's just lay out and enjoy it. On board with Donnie Moran. He's solidly in the top 10. To his high side is the 00 of Freddie Smith, and that's the 00 of Randy Cordy, the 00K, the yellow car.
Right behind him in that 50 car is Denny Eckridge.
Oh, no, he's gone around. Oh, hang on. And everybody gets by the caution flag back out just that quickly. And Donnie Moran, what happened? Now for the 4th heat, we're going to start this one from onboard. This is Donnie Moran's QPI Tools camera, and oh, look at this. You've got a living room full of Danny Richards. This is how close they are.
Nice riveting job there.
An area that the motors fire, and Moran gets a big jump there, but remember, he's starting the 6th position. Down to his inside is the 8 car of David Payne. We're going to stay with this shot for a while just to give you a sense of how close together they race. Oh, look at this.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll meet the Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year, Billy Ogle Jr. But up next, the man who finished 3rd in the national championship points, Steve Francis. Welcome back to Dixie Speedway, everybody. I think one of the really inspiring stories throughout the entire 2002 campaign was how well Steve Francis did.
Well, Steve Francis, coming off the death of his brother and crew chief suddenly last year, formed up with a new team for 2002 with Mark Richards at Rocket Chassis. They had Mopar backing with the Stanton Mopar engines and Valvoline sponsorship. It seemed like they had a lot of high expectations coming into the year, and they challenged for the championship throughout the 2002 season.
And Roby spent a few minutes with Steve earlier today.
Steve, as you said, you teamed up this year with Mark Richards and driving the Rocket Chassis house car. You brought your motor program with you from Mopar, the Valvoline sponsorship. There was a lot of high expectations for this team this year. How would you grade the team as a whole in 2002?
The team as a whole done an excellent job. You know, it just seemed like it was one of those years where that if you needed to be the inside of the heat race, we were on the outside. Double file restart on some of the television races. If we were always the right spot at the wrong time. Not to make excuses, we just it was one of those years where people say, you know, stuff happens. That's kind of the year that that'd be the best way to describe our year. We were leading 2 of the first 3 races in Florida and had problems in all those. Crashed with a lap car, had an engine problem, had something that was kind of rare for us in the past, and we just had to build on that. Plus, myself learning to drive for somebody else. Mark Richards, who's the car owner now, him learning to deal with the Mopar engine where he had always dealt with the Chevrolet engine. So we had a bigger learning curve than a lot of people expected us to have. But everybody's already signed up to do 1 more year with us. We're going to stay together, leave everything kind of just like it is for next year and go on from there.
Steve, with a new team, what are some of the things that you have to learn with a new car owner, a new crew chief, and as you said, the car owner and the crew chief with a new package?
Well, we were real fortunate. The crew chief on the car is Chad Haney, who was with me in our real successful 1999 season, and then Joe Paxton, he does the tires, drives the truck. He was also with me there. And, I've been with Mark with the Rocket Chassis for 5 or 6 years now, so it wasn't like we were going in blind. It's just, we kind of had to learn, I kind of had to learn myself where that now I'm the driver, I'm not the person that makes the exact call and everything like that, where that if I make a call and it's the wrong call, it was me. Now it involves a lot more people. So, I had a learning curve to go through there too. It's, I guess it's kind of like being self-employed all your life and then all of a sudden going to the steel mill or whatever and going to work and having a boss. Not that Mark is a bad boss or anything like that. He's super to work with and gives me everything I want. It's just that you have to adapt a little bit from that, and it took me a little while to learn that.
Being the driver of what we would call the house car, the Rocket Chassis car, do you have to do a lot of R&D work that maybe a lot of the other teams don't do for Rocket Chassis?
We do a lot of R&D work. I've always done quite a bit of that with Rocket. Just through the past 5 or 6 years, I've done quite a bit of that. I enjoy doing it. But yeah, sometimes we get too many ideas in our head, I guess you'd say. We'll change quite a few things, maybe more than we should at times, but that doesn't really bother me because when you hit it right, the car's super, and when you miss, it isn't. A lot of people said maybe it wasn't the year that we expected. No, it really probably wasn't the year we expected, but if you look back on it, it's kind of about the year Steve Francis has had for the last 3 or 4 years. Just so happened Rick and Dale had those excellent years. And if we don't crash out leading the first race of the year at Brunswick, then we had the motor problem at Tampa, the 2nd or 3rd race of the year. We're leading Hagerstown and have a problem there with 4 or 5 laps to go. I think we finished 21st, 22nd, and 16th or something. you add those races back up with the wins, and we're right in contention for, you know, Rick and myself are right where we were this time last year. So, you know, no, I'm not disappointed with our year, and I don't think we've had a bad year. Just a lot of people expected a lot more things, and just we're in the right spot at the wrong time a few times.
What was the high point of the season for you? What stands out the most in your mind is the thing that you'll remember the most of the 2002 season?
That's a tough question. Actually, just how much this team actually came together from nothing. I guess there's not really one single high point that I would, you know, like Ricky has that big win at Cedar Lake or something like that, but just the fact that this team came together, everybody worked hard, everybody put 100% into it, and actually a lot of people made this year a lot easier on me than it could have actually been.
Still to come here on this UDTRA Dirty Thursday telecast, we'll meet the man who finished second in the championship standings, Dale McDowell. Welcome back, everybody. Mark Allen and Roby Helm. We marveled at the year Dale McDowell had, the number of wins he had. By far the most of anybody in the series, won 25% of the races, but was not able to win the championship.
And that all boiled down to lack of consistency. He had a few more DNFs than the other guys did, and that cost him in the final point tally. But for Dale McDowell, it's all about winning.
Dale, a terrific season by any measure. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been an experience this year. We've experienced some highs and some lows, and so it's been a good year for my whole team.
You've won more races than anybody else in the 2002 campaign. What was it that made you so strong? In fact, the strongest that you've ever been week in and week out in the series.
Well, I think it's all the companies that we're associated with. Larry Shaw's been a very big positive to our program. Mark Richards at Rocket Race Cars has been a very big part of our program. Custom Race Engines has been a very big part of our program. And not to say, I can't say enough about my crew, my brother Shane, being the crew chief, and Gene, and just everybody that's involved with our program has really stepped forward this year and given me great equipment, and we've had a good year.
Now, sometimes brothers can kind of butt heads a little bit, particularly when one of the brothers is the race car driver. How is it that you two have reconciled your relationship to get the most out of it for the race car?
Well, both of us are really open-minded. If we see an area that one of us can excel in or one of us is slacking in, then we don't hesitate to tell one another. So that's really helped me that I've been able to get out of the car and take it from him telling me that I'm driving the wrong line or I'm not doing my job as a driver. And, you know, realistically, that sounds kind of tough to take, but when you're open-minded enough that can help you as a race car driver, then it's definitely an advantage, and that's what I use it for, is an advantage to our program.
Who usually wins the arguments?
Usually me. He's a little bit quieter, and I speak my piece a little bit more, so I don't know if I win. He just shuts up before I do.
With all the tremendous success you had getting to victory lane, obviously the one thing that did elude you was the championship. What is the one thing that you can put your finger on that kept you from becoming the 2002 champion?
Definitely the consistency. We fell out of a couple of races with mechanical failures early in the year, you know, 2 of them leading, one of them running third, and in a couple of them we just weren't performing very well, so just opted to pull in. So I really don't know, other than the consistency factor, that's what actually championships are built on, is consistency, and we just need to work on that program just a little bit, and we look forward to doing it in 2003.
Now, one of the races that you fell out of while leading, as a matter of fact, was at Dixie here in July. It was one of our television races, and after you were involved in that incident at the front of the pack, you would have had to go to the rear, but chose to go off the speedway. And then later on in that race, there was this big wreck where you could have picked up some positions. If you had it to do over again, how might you have viewed that situation differently?
Well, definitely frustration was a key there. You know, we were leading the race, and the track had, unfortunately, a summertime event. It had gotten one laned and was trying to lap a car, and you know, got tangled up with him, and so out of frustration we pulled in. And you know, you can look at it and view it 1,000 different ways. You know, if I would have stayed out, I may have been in the big wreck, you know, that started right after the caution. So you know, it's definitely an issue to where you have to put yourself, when you're racing for points, you have to put all of your frustrations behind you and go back out there and keep digging. And so I probably let us down a little bit, you know, in those terms a couple of times this year, because a couple of times at different racetracks we weren't performing as well as we needed to, and I just wheel it in, you know. So I probably need to change that and, you know, to actually chase for the championship points.
Now, there are two guys that everybody's going to be shooting for in 2003. One, of course, is Rick Eckert, as now the two-time champion, but the other one's got to be Dale McDowell, based on the number of victories you've had. How do you view now being one of the guys that everybody's aiming at week in and week out?
Well, the competition level is unbelievable, you know, and dirt late model racing today, the competition level is higher than I've ever remember it being. So, you know, it definitely is a driving force for you, you know, to keep you on top of your game and making the right decisions. But on the other hand, it makes it tough when you get to the racetrack. There's a lot of other variables there. You have to draw well as far as when you go out to qualify. Your positioning has to be, you know, you have to have a little bit of luck in your positioning as far as maybe if the outside row's a little quicker, that you're in a heat, that you start on the outside row. So, you know, there's a lot of variables that go into that. But the driving force with all the competition level just makes you a better racer.
It's a tough grind to go 30-some races, even 40-some races a year, and then you run a number of other non-sanctioned events. What is the most challenging thing about being on the road so much throughout the course of the season?
The most challenging thing I feel like would be staying on top of the program, keeping upbeat. The travel starts to wear on me as a driver and my crew, you know, and so a lot of times when you're on the road for a long period of time, you'll experience or encounter some failures or something that you normally wouldn't have. So definitely, you know, staying upbeat and, you know, and keeping enough rest to stay on top of your program, your maintenance program and everything, you know, that's the biggest part of it.
Coming up next, we'll show you why UDTRA is America's favorite show on dirt. Welcome back, everybody. Throughout the course of the 2002 campaign, Roby, we saw 3 wide, we even saw 4 wide on more than one occasion. We saw a lot of great racing, we saw close finishes, and we even saw a little bit of mayhem. This is the best of 2002, part 2.
The leader gets a row by himself for the restart, double file for everybody else. We got 14 laps to go, and we have got a big mess happening in turn 1. There's a major wreck involving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Past that, I got to take my shoes and socks off to count, but this is the biggest incident we have had all night.
And we've got Rodney Martin sitting on top of Marshall Green's car.
And Marshall Green was our fast time setter tonight, but has had a lousy night ever since then. And it's going to take a little bit of work to extricate Martin's car. Let's take a look at what happened.
Double file restart, everybody trying to get down to the inside. Everybody ran out of room in a hurry. Jimmy Mars tangling up with Ray Cook on the outside, Green and Martin on the inside. Rick Eckert just barely snuck by on the inside. Let's see if we can see that on this replay.
And also, Steve Francis was barely able to check up without getting into anybody. But look at this battle for second, Roby.
Got Tim Hitt on the inside in car number 68. Mike Malzano to his outside, a little contact. They're drifting up the racetrack and hit sideways.
And look out, and Rick Eckert, is he involved in the incident? I don't believe so, but Chubb Frank goes airborne, and we're staying green. The second Consi race was a completely wild affair. Starting at the very back of the pack, Donnie Moran, he has to race all the way into the field, got to get up to third. He cannot get in on points alone. And Roby, you got 16 drivers, all eager. Here's the start.
Only the top 3 go on to the main event, so guys trying to get in a hurry early in the race, and here's what happens.
A big pile of cars now. How that specifically relates to Donnie Moran, he was nowhere near the wreck. 3 of those guys couldn't restart, so he automatically picks up 3 positions. But he's having trouble passing people on the track and does about the only thing he can do here to keep him from being swept into another wreck. Here's what it looked like from his onboard camera.
Well, the bad news is Donnie Moran spun the car. The good news is he didn't hit anything, and he picks up 2 more spots.
So now he's all of a sudden getting closer, but then he's got to spin again to keep from getting involved in a wreck. The only move he could make Another view, certainly not what you want to be seeing if you're the driver of that QPI Tools car. As loud as these engines are, even though they are muffled, as loud as these engines are, he can hear other cars around him, so he's got a very good sense of where ARP is. Now they've closed in on the car. Ricky Weeks, a bobble by a race leader. ARP takes the open door, jumps to the lead. But here comes Frank back to the high side. Who's going to get it at the line? It will be ARP. The lead has officially changed hands at the start-finish line.
But now Skip ARP has to try to work his way around Ricky Weeks, and here's Chuck Frank on the outside.
And Weeks, for the second time in 2 laps, has determined who the race leader will be, and I don't even think he knew what was happening.
One of the most memorable highlights of the 2002 season was defending and 2-time UDTRA champion Rick Eckert winning the Great Northern Challenge $100,000 bonus at the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Got a battle for the lead. Rick Eckert trying the inside on Scott Bloomquist.
And it looks like he's got it. Bloomquist up into the fence. Keeps going.
Contact.
Yeah, it doesn't look like too much damage. Bloomquist sliding up the track and almost contact for the lead. And Bloomquist gives up second to McDowell, who charges hard into turn 3. He drifts up the track. Here comes Bloomquist. They won't touch, and I don't think McDowell got in the fence, but if he didn't, it was by a razor-thin margin. They may all be tiptoeing through those first few moments, but Dale McDowell got a terrific jump on the restart and has already opened up a 4-car length advantage over second place Rick Eckert. Heading back down into turn 1, up the speedway, he's sliding higher. Rick Eckert gets underneath. Will he hold it? Yes, he does. Here comes Francis, but Francis will tuck back into line with 7 laps to go. Rick Eckert has gone to the point. Rick Eckert's going to have to make a mistake if Dale McDowell hopes to win this race. Eckert did slide there just a couple of laps ago. We are down to it. 15 seconds to go for a huge payday for Rick Eckert. Can he hang on? Will Dale McDowell make the move, try to change the outcome on the point? He will not be able to do it. And Rick Eckert, the biggest payday in UDTRA history. You have just seen it here on Speed Channel.
It was good in 2001. It's twice as nice in 2002. Coming up next, we'll meet the 2002 UDTRA Pro Dirt Car Series champion, Rick Eckert. Rick Eckert had the kind of season most drivers can only dream about. Welcome back, everybody. Mark Allen and Roby Helm. He wins a gigantic payday in one race, and then he has a monster amount of money at season's end. What a year.
Rick Eckert didn't have a good year. He had a great year. He had multiple wins, completed most of the laps this year, and he also had consistency. That was the key to him winning the championship.
And in fact, about midway through the campaign, we gave him a nickname, Rocket Rick. Let's spend a few minutes with him. How do you explain the remarkable consistency of completing virtually all the laps in the season? That is incredibly difficult to do.
Well, that's a credit to the engine builder, the chassis builder, my crew, car owner giving us the stuff that we could do that, you know, and I was fortunate enough to stay out of most of the wrecks and be able to get that done.
What are some of the things that you do to try to minimize the chances that you're going to be in a wreck?
Well, sometimes it depends who you race with and who's racing around you, that you can tell if you're in a bad situation, you need to get out of that situation, you know. And fortunately, we've qualified pretty good at most of the races and been able to start near the front of the race, you know, at the start of the race. So that gets you up there with the better cars. And shit, I make mistakes and so does everybody else, you know. Sometimes I get myself in my own trouble. But sometimes a good deal. I've always been fortunate enough to watch ahead when I race, you know, to try to watch the corner while I'm going down the straightaway, the corner in front of me, to try to make sure that if there's anything happening there, I see it ahead of time.
When the Great Northern Challenge was first announced, what did you think, realistically, your chances were going to be of winning that?
I thought it was going to be Dale McDowell because he had just won like 3 or 4 races, and I said, "Boy, I bet you're smiling now." We were there talking. I said, "You're smiling now, aren't you? The way you've been on a roll." And he said, "Yeah." So we went into that deal, and first night we were on like 3rd, and Dale didn't win. I think Brian won. And second night we raced hard with Earl,
about won the race and got in lap traffic there and ended up running second. And then, fortunately, the last 3 races just seemed to fall our way.
Well, more than falling your way at the USA Nationals, well, that was a rather dramatic conclusion. With about 20 laps to go, what did you think your chances were going to be of winning that race?
Well, my chances were pretty much done. Dale was out there checked out, and it was fortunate for me. Scott broke something, had oil run all over the racetrack, covered everything up, and had to throw the caution. Left me get back close to Dale, and then started the race. And the racetrack had a bunch of Scott's oil all over it. Dale slipped. I got by him, and I was like, "Whoa, this is going to be great here." And then I slipped a couple laps later, and I slowed down and got back to the hub and sort of cut everybody off and tried to block. It was worth blocking for that much money.
Now, between the championship and the biggest single payday in UDTRA history, which is the more meaningful to you?
Oh, well,
you don't need to be politically correct here. You can say what you think.
No, I mean, as far as money-wise, yeah, surely the money is. But really, as far as the way I look at things, I would say the championship is. You know, it's a lot harder to win a championship than it is to win 3 races. So to put a year together and be able to be the top guy in points at the end of the season, you know, that's what we all gear up for. That's what we all try to do. And to pull that off is, you know, that's a credit to everybody around us.
Now, you've had a little time after the Cumberland race, because we're taping this at a later time, of course, to now savor the second championship. Can you put in layman's terms for our viewers a sense of satisfaction you feel from that accomplishment?
Well, the nice thing about that is last year we won by 1 point. You know, when the first time you win anything, everybody says, you know, that goes under that blind squirrel deal. You know, blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. So, you know, it's nice to back it up, and that way you know, backing it up makes me feel a little better. We could back that up and win that second championship. So, you know, I don't know if it does anything for anybody else, but it sure does make me feel better.
Coming up next, we'll meet the Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year for 2002, Billy Ogle Jr., and we'll have some final thoughts.
This race brought to you by Lucas Oil, the official lubricant of UDTRA. By Advance Auto Parts, the best part is our people. By QPI, tools that outlive you. And by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of Dixie Speedway.
Welcome back, everybody. One of the toughest challenges in any national touring series is the travel, going east to west, north to south. Now, add the element of not seeing racetracks before, and you begin to understand the challenge that a Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year candidate faces. Well, this year, Billy Ogle Jr. did it better than anybody else to earn Rookie of the Year honors. Doug Bland sat down and talked to the Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year.
Billy, you've won on the UDTRA series prior to coming to it on a full-time basis. So how hard was it to tour for the first time?
Well, it was very difficult, really, to me. You know, when I first went into it this year, I thought it might be a little easier, but as the season went on, I learned that it was a very difficult process to learn each track and to race at each track and try to get in the shows. My biggest problem was starting out through the first part of the year, but that was the toughest thing, just making sure I could get into the races.
What surprised you the most over the period of the year as far as the series and the toughness of the competition?
Well, when we went up northwest, up where the dirt's very black, and when that place kind of slicked over, I think it really threw me a curveball. I kind of got lost in that. We were lost on our chassis. I might have been lost a little bit as a driver, and that was pretty much the hardest thing that I had to conquer there once we moved up west like that.
So the dirt surface is basically what surprised you. What went as planned for you?
Well, as far as our goals, our goal was to win the Rookie this year, Rookie of the Year deal, and we did accomplish that. I was hoping to be in the top 10 in points. I thought I might be a little higher up. I think we ended up 9th, possibly 8th. It'll depend on tonight's finish. But that right there, that was pretty much our goals. Even though we met them, I felt like when I had run with the series in the past, just a couple of times a year, it seemed like I ran better than what I ran as a whole for this whole year. But I guess that's just what it takes, the price you pay when you travel like that.
Well, that's going to do it for our Year in Review show. We hope you've had as much fun watching the races here on Speed Channel in 2002 as we've had in producing them for you. So for Doug Bland, who has patrolled the pits all season long, and my tag team partner, Roby Helm, this is Mark Allen. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you down the road.